Hey friends, it is Candice here with Candice Adelle Photography. I am a wedding photographer and a business coach, and I am here today to chat with you a little bit about something wedding centric. So this is really geared towards brides and grooms, and also anybody that's in the wedding industry, specifically photographers. I think this will be really helpful for you when communicating with your couples about some really helpful tips to keep in mind on wedding day. So to all the brides out there, these are really great tips. And to all the wedding photographers out there, feel free to use these to communicate to your couple some really awesome things that will help make their wedding day even that more awesome. So the first tip that I'm going to give you guys is unplug ceremonies. I highly recommend having an unplugged ceremony. So what does that mean? An unplugged ceremony is when guests are asked to take all of their electronic devices, turn them off, stow them away for the entirety of the ceremony. And I typically will mention this to my couples for a few reasons, but the number one reason is because it has really gotten out of hand with guests having their phones out during the ceremony. Not only during the nuptials themselves, but more so during the processional and the recessional, and also first kiss. So I have actually photographed weddings where the bride is walking down the aisle with her father. It's a really emotional moment, and there are people with their phones out blocking half of the bride's body as she walks down the aisle. I've had this happen numerous times during first kiss, where the arms are outstretched to take photos of the first kiss, and there are phones that are blocking half of the bodies during this moment. And brides, you've hired a photographer for a reason, and we're there to do a job for you, a great job for you. And the last thing that we want is a guest with an iPad ruining your photos. So that is my first tip. Announce an unplugged ceremony to your guests. And there are two ways that you can do this. Number one, have a sign. Signs are great, super effective. But even more effective than that is having your officiant make an announcement that they need to turn their phones off and put them away. Inevitably, there'll be the one person that doesn't listen to the request, but at least you've tried two different methods to let them know that you would prefer to have the professional take on the duties of taking those photos on wedding day. So, huge tip. Number two, when it comes to family groupings of photos, this is a really important part of the day. And as photographers, we totally get it. While we are super excited to be really creative and to do the couples portraits and to do all the details, we realize that you having photos with the people that you love the most are really important. So it's important to us as well. One of the things that I would recommend on wedding day when it comes to doing these photos is to keep your family groupings to a minimum of 10 or less. I have certainly accommodated more than that, but make sure that you're building the time into your timeline to be able to do that, because the more groupings you have with family, the less time you're going to have for portraits of the two of you. If you're not doing a first look, then you even have less time for portraits of the two of you. So I highly recommend keeping those family groupings to a smaller amount, 10 or less, just to allow more time to be able to have more portraits, and then also to have more time to mingle with your guests. So that is number two tip for wedding day. And then my number three tip, which probably is maybe the most important, is trusting your photographer and trying best not to micromanage the day. So this is twofold. So you have hired a professional to photograph your wedding day, you've connected with them, you've met with them, you've seen their work, you're super excited about working with them. Trust the process. Take the stress off of you, let your photographer handle it, and trust that they're going to do a stellar job for you. I'm going to say with that though, if you have hired someone and you can't trust the process and you feel like you need to micromanage and you are having difficulty relinquishing control, then perhaps maybe you haven't hired the right person. So I would seriously think about, when it is time to hire a photographer, being able to get into that trust process with the right person. You definitely want to be meeting with them in person ahead of time, viewing their work, and asking all of the questions before you actually book. So that way on wedding day, you feel awesome about what they're about to do for you. You're excited to see the portraits and all of the other photos at the end of this process, because truthfully, at the end of it, all of you have left are your memories and your photos. So 3 tips, again, I'm going to recap them for you. Number 1, unplug ceremony. It's huge. I promise you really want to do it. Number 2, keeping those family groupings to a minimum, or making sure that you schedule in the time for all of those additional family groupings if they are really important to you. And number 3, trust your photographer and make sure that you are doing the legwork before hiring to make sure that you can be as stress-free as possible on wedding day, because you trust your photographer 100%. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed those tips, and you guys have a fabulous day. I'll talk to you soon.